You stand at the checkout line, watching the cashier scan a box of cereal, a carton of eggs, and a few essentials. The total flashes on the screen, and for a split second, you think there is a mistake. You swipe your card anyway, walking out with 2 bags of groceries that somehow cost you well over $100. Then you get to your car, turn on the radio, and the financial pundits are throwing a parade. They tell you the economy is achieving a perfect soft landing, that inflation is rapidly cooling, and that the consumer is thriving. You look down at your receipt. Something is completely broken. The disconnect between your grocery bill and the television anchors stems from the Consumer Price Index, or the CPI. For decades, this was a straightforward mathematical tool. It tracked a theoretical basket of goods, milk, bread, housing, gas, to measure exactly how much it costs the average American to live. But economics operates under Goodhart's law, which states that the moment a metric becomes a target, it completely stops being an accurate measurement. Once institutions and markets started optimizing for specific inflation numbers, they stopped optimizing for reality. The government did not lower the actual cost of keeping your family fed. They simply managed the mathematical index used to report it. To understand how they hide a cumulative 25% rise in inflation since 2020, you have to look at their statistical adjustments. The first trick is called Hedonic adjustments. The Bureau of Labor Statistics argues that if a product like a smartphone costs more this year but comes with a better camera, the price didn't actually rise because you received an upgrade in quality. They apply that logic to the goods you need to survive. The second trick ignores physical volume. When mega corporations shrink your coffee container by 20% but keep the price exactly the same, you are mathematically paying significantly more per ounce. That is shrinkflation. This diagram shows exactly how the official CPI algorithm legally smooths out those harsh realities. When prices rise, the index assumes you will buy cheaper alternatives. They swap out steak for hamburger in their theoretical basket, they ignore the shrinking package sizes, and they alter the weights of what you supposedly purchase. Meanwhile, the official headline inflation number displayed at the top remains safely low. These methodologies create massive mathematical blind spots. They erase the actual financial burden placed on your household budget and generate an entirely fictional picture of the economy. When you pay the same price for 20% less food, that missing value does not vanish. It goes straight to the corporate bottom line. Companies artificially boost their quarterly earnings by quietly extracting those missing ounces from your pantry. Quantitative algorithms see those earnings beats and trigger immediate buy orders. The stock prices surge, executives collect massive bonuses, and institutional investors cash out at the top. You unknowingly fund corporate stock buybacks every time you buy a shrinking box of groceries. The Federal Reserve then relies on that manipulated, artificially low CPI data to justify their monetary policy. By claiming inflation is cooling, they can pause rate hikes and discuss rate cuts. That promise of cheaper capital is exactly the liquidity markets need to pump tech stock valuations even higher. The system legally sanctions a direct extraction of wealth from the middle class to institutional hedge funds, completely insulated by a government calculation that refuses to call it inflation. You cannot lie to a bank account. With real costs soaring and wages failing to keep up, everyday people are caught in a brutal corner. Americans are no longer spending money because they are earning it. They are spending money because they are borrowing it. This chart tracks total U.S. credit card debt. The historically steady line violently spikes to a record $1.28 trillion. Worse, the average interest rate is compounding at 22%. Commercial bankruptcies recently spiked over 7%, hitting their highest level in a decade. Millions have quietly dropped out of the labor force entirely, while full-time careers are rapidly replaced by part-time gig work with zero benefits. Leading economic indicators have been flashing red for 6 consecutive months. We are seeing the exact same pattern of institutional blindness that formed right before the 2008 collapse, when the mainstream media also cheered about strong consumer spending, right up until the system bled out. The entire United States economy functions as a giant game of Jenga, where the bottom block is the consumer. When those credit limits are finally maxed out and the buy now, pay later installment plans stop, the velocity of money instantly freezes. They never announce the crash before it happens. They manage the statistical metrics just long enough to keep the music playing, ensuring the smart money has time to exit the building and offload their systemic risk onto the public. By the time the official data updates to reflect your reality, retail investors are left holding the bag. The financial system was designed to protect the stability of its institutions, not your purchasing power. Surviving the coming reconciliation requires understanding one basic fact: the economy they report on television is a carefully managed lie.